Democrats like to talk about civility and unity, but only after calling their enemies Nazis and domestic terrorists. Remember, they're allowed to be the bigots they call everyone else, but you aren't allowed to speak truths about the people living in glass houses. At a recent House Homeland Security Committee hearing, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene, RGA, was interrupted multiple times during her time to speak because of accusations she made against both Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas and fellow polarizing Representative Swalwell, D-Calif. While Greene's tactics may be polarizing, they raise important questions about the selective outrage and lack of civility in today's political landscape. First, let's address Swalwell's interruption after Greene mocked the California congressman's time accusing Republicans of wanting to defund the FBI, while ignoring that his party called to defund all police for at least a year in the not-too-distant past. While Swalwell may not like being called out for his hypocrisy, interrupting Greene's time is a clear violation of the rules of the House. If we truly believe in the importance of civility and following the rules, then we must hold all members of Congress accountable, regardless of their political affiliations. Next, let's examine Greene's accusation that Mayorkas is lying about the fentanyl crisis and its impact on American children and teenagers. While Mayorkas may have his own perspective on the issue, Greene's concerns should be taken seriously and not dismissed out of hand. If we truly want to promote unity and work towards solutions, then we must be willing to listen to all perspectives, even those we may disagree with. Furthermore, the response from Representative Benny Thompson, D-Miss, to get Greene's accusation of calling Mayorkas a liar taken down is another example of selective outrage from the left. While it is important to maintain decorum and respect in the House, if a witness is lying, then they should be called out on it. Disagreement and debate are healthy for democracy, but we must be willing to hold all members of Congress accountable for their words and actions. Finally, the issue of free speech and selective enforcement of the law must be addressed. While it is important to protect the Capitol and the safety of our elected officials, the government cannot selectively enforce the law and crack down on peaceful protests while turning a blind eye to violent riots. Subscribe for more content like this. We must hold all individuals and groups accountable for their actions, regardless of their political affiliations. Understand the power of language. Throughout history, language has been used as a tool for persuasion, propaganda, and manipulation. Understanding the power of language can help us be more discerning when listening to politicians and media personalities, and it can also help us communicate more effectively when we want to express our own opinions. By being aware of how language can be used to divide people and spread misinformation, we can be more conscious of the messages we receive and the messages we put out into the world. Learn about the history of political discourse. Political discourse has been a part of human history for thousands of years, and studying its history can help us understand the evolution of political ideologies and the ways in which different groups have used rhetoric to gain power. From the ancient Greeks to the Enlightenment thinkers to modern political movements, there is a wealth of information to be gained from studying political discourse throughout history. Remember the importance of civil discourse. While it's easy to get caught up in heated political debates, it's important to remember that civil discourse is key to a healthy democracy. Civil discourse allows people with different perspectives to come together and engage in meaningful dialogue, rather than resorting to name-calling and personal attacks. By focusing on respectful communication and a willingness to listen to different viewpoints, we can create a more inclusive and effective political system. Recognize the danger of demonizing opponents. Throughout history, political opponents have been demonized as a way to discredit them and undermine their legitimacy. However, demonizing opponents can lead to a dangerous cycle of polarization and division, and it can also lead to violence and persecution. By recognizing the danger of demonizing opponents, we can work to promote a more inclusive and collaborative political culture. Study the role of propaganda in politics. Propaganda has been used throughout history to sway public opinion, and it continues to be a powerful tool in modern politics. By studying the techniques of propaganda and understanding how it works, we can be more critical of the messages we receive and better equipped to discern truth from falsehood. This can help us become more informed citizens and more effective advocates for our beliefs. In conclusion, the lack of civility and selective outrage in today's political landscape is concerning and must be addressed if we want to work towards unity and solutions. While Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene's tactics may be polarizing, her concerns should be taken seriously and not dismissed out of hand. We must be willing to listen to all perspectives, hold all members of Congress accountable, and uphold the rule of law in a fair and impartial manner. Only then can we truly work towards a better future for all Americans. The fact of the matter is that Democrats have a long history of advocating for civility and unity, while simultaneously using derogatory and inflammatory language towards their political opponents. They label anyone who disagrees with them as Nazis or domestic terrorists, yet they themselves engage in the same behavior they claim to condemn. At the hearing, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene was interrupted multiple times while she tried to bring attention to the fentanyl crisis and how it is killing Americans every day. She was accused of calling Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas a liar and was ultimately prevented from speaking for the rest of her time. This is just another example of the left's selective outrage and attempts to stifle free speech. They claim to be the party of civility and tolerance, yet they are quick to silence anyone who dares to speak out against their agenda. And let's not forget about the violent riots that swept across America during the summer of 2020. Democrats were quick to condemn the storming of the Capitol on January 6, yet they turned a blind eye to the destruction and chaos that occurred in cities across the country. They even went so far as to encourage and condone these riots, which resulted in the loss of innocent lives and the destruction of countless businesses and homes. It's clear that the left's calls for civility and unity are nothing more than empty rhetoric. They are only interested in pushing their own agenda and silencing anyone who dares to disagree with them. It's time for Americans to wake up and realize that the left is not interested in working together to solve the problems facing our country. They are only interested in power and control. In conclusion, Democrats like to talk a big game about civility and unity, but their actions tell a different story. They are quick to demonize their political opponents and silence anyone who dares to speak out against them. It's time for Americans to hold the left accountable for their hypocrisy and demand real change from our elected officials. Only then can we truly come together as a nation and work towards a brighter future for all. Thanks for watching. Subscribe our channel for authenticity.